All right, hello inmates. Welcome to the cellblock Scorch week 223B. I am Rev, and this is my first time on the Scorch recording an episode. Just happened that with where we decided to start recording, I haven't had any wins. I had a win like right before the week we decided to start, but that's beside the point. I digress. I'm gonna do that a lot. ADHD dog. So this week's prompt was, I would hardly call it stabbing. This was given from Bones, and so obviously I won, which is why I'm reading. Okay, yeah, so just a few notes on this one. It is a part of a larger series. I've written a handful of pieces, I don't know, 8 or 9 maybe, in this universe. Quite a few of them have won, but most of those were written before this one, so you're not gonna hear them for a while, but you know, they exist. This isn't my first time writing about these lovely people, and so I think most relevant piece of information here is that this is a King Arthur story. The one thing that I think that is important to note, the two main knights that are talking here are Leon and Gawain. And the important thing that I need you to know with Gawain is that Gawain is spelled with an E at the end because my Gawain is feminine. She's not a man. Alright. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump into it. Leon lowered his face into his hand. Gawain, this is the 4th time in as many weeks that you have stabbed someone at the pub. I would hardly call it a stabbing, Gawain said, looking toward a spot on the ceiling that was suddenly very interesting. I barely poked the lad. His manners were right dishonourable, Leon. You should have heard the way he spoke about the girls there. And then he had the audacity to try to talk to some of them, and he turned right nasty when they said no. Gawain, I know, it's always the same, and it's always extremely noble of you to help those ladies out. But please, I beg of you, just punch the lad. Start a brawl, I don't care, but can I keep cleaning up your messes? Aye, mate, I'm right here, exclaimed the man from the bar with Gawain's dagger still through his side. I ain't nobody's mess that needs to be cleaned. I'm injured and I need— Shut up! The two knights yelled in unison. The man immediately laid his head back down on the bed where he had been put. You can heal them, no problem, she said, and a knife always gets the message across a lot better than a fist ever could. I am first and foremost the king's mage. I need to be ready to heal the king or one of his knights. I can't be wasting my time on petty scoundrels every time you or one of the others decide that the quickest lesson is taught through a blade. Gawain sighed. Sorry, Captain. I'll make sure that you don't need to waste your energy like this again. Good. Leon turned to the man where he lay. And now for you— He grabbed the knife, twisting it a little before pulling it out, accompanied by a small scream from the man. What are you gonna do in the future when a lovely young lass that you approached turns you down? Leon grabbed a rag and pushed it against the wound, much harder than he needed. The man groaned from the pressure. I'll move on. No means no. I get it now. I get it. Good. You best not forget it, Leon said, then healed the stab wound.
Alright everyone, it's Bones here for Judge Comments. This was a fun week for both submissions. Red went more dark humor route with a kind of terrible but really fun universe that she's been writing in called the Forced Ascension universe, which, given the name and the fact that it's about gods, probably tells you a lot about it. Very funny, very terrible, would recommend. But Rev won this week, probably because it was more blatantly funny, and I also very much enjoy how all the characters acted as well. Gotta love a bunch of troublemakers with hearts of gold, you know? Plus, the way the one telling them to stay in line twisted the knife before pulling it out was just a nice little addition, because the only thing better than troublemakers with hearts of gold is authority figures who secretly approve of them. Anyway, I haven't got much else to say about this. It was just a fun little piece in a universe Rev has written several Scorches for. I'm sure they'll tell you more about it. And I had a really good time reading it. So, back to Rev's comments.
All right. So, first, I'm sorry if you hate my accents. It felt right. Doing accents and impressions has always been kind of something that I've done as well with, friends and family, just kind of riffing off each other. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. If you think it's bad, I'm sorry. I had fun doing it though, so I'm not that sorry. I do hope you enjoyed the dialogue. It was real fun to do. I read the story and then I read each line of dialogue individually and then spliced it all together. And that was a fun process to go through to help. I did it that way just to really help make sure I was doing a consistent voice for each character. Just read all of their lines at once in the specific voice, that particular accent. And yeah, so they kind of have Scottish, English accents, general British accents. Because, like I said, this is a King Arthur story. On the Patreon, it'll be marked under the tag Pendre, because that is the particular version of the last name Pendragon that I am using for my Arthur. And this is maybe an overly ambitious project, just in that I'm attempting to combine in a way that makes sense the King Arthur mythos and legend with Greek mythology. The Greek mythology is generally going to be a past history kind of thing. Arthur and his crew are going to deal with monsters from Greek mythology as well as monsters from their own mythos, from their own legend, like the questing beast. I haven't really got together everything yet, but there is I think it's a good time. I'm just gonna kind of briefly talk about the first piece that I did for it. I don't remember if it won, but it's like week 118, and so you're not gonna see it for years. Assuming, crossing fingers, that we keep going for that long. I don't see why we wouldn't. We're just doing this as a fun thing for ourselves, really. But I digress. Like I said, I'd do that a lot. So the first piece that I wrote is just titled, I think, Zagreus, and the connecting plot that I'm doing. I'm having the mortal realm reflect on some level what's happening in the godly realm, so up on Olympus. And if you're familiar with Greek mythology, then you might know that Zagreus is the son of Hades and Persephone. Hades is the eldest son of Kronos and Rhea, and so by that he's technically he was technically the heir for the throne of Olympus, but after the war between the gods and the Titans, with how things panned out, lots were drawn, depends exactly on the myth how it goes. But Zeus ends up as the king, and Hades ends up as king of the underworld. But I'm going to be drawing on the connection that Zagreus has to the more well-known Greek god Dionysus, who is generally a son of Zeus. But again, I digress. The main story is going to be of Arthur claiming the throne of his country, and in the meantime, Zagreus acting as his patron and accruing more power in order to basically overthrow Zeus and take his rightful spot on the throne. Because, if you know Greek mythology, everybody hates Zeus. Zeus sucks, alright? If your Greek mythology doesn't include Zeus sucking, that's not the same mythology. I know. Zeus is the worst, and we hate Zeus. And I want to overthrow Zeus. And so that's what I'm doing with this story. I'm doing a double whammy. We're getting some King Arthur action because I love the Arthurian legends. I think they're very fun. And there's, a lot to do with them. And it's the same with Greek mythology. There's a lot to do with it. It's very fun. And I want to see if I can combine them in a interesting way that adds to them both hopefully without detracting from either too much. We'll see though. It's been an interesting time. I've had fun writing the pieces I've written, and trying to kind of actually plan out a full storyline, but we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. So like I said, that tag on the Patreon will be Pendray, Pendray. Finally, my prompt for next week is here it is. Okay. So it is a screenshot from a webtoon that I read called Villain to Kill. And I should have found what episode number it was. Oh well, I didn't. So it's a screenshot of one of the side characters as he's going through a training arc, and he says, "Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet." And he's kind of looking down. You can't see his eyes. They're covered by his hair. And in the way that there are like, bang, pows, punches in like onomatopoeia sound effects, as he's smirking, there is an onomatopoeia style smirk, as if he's so content and so, excited with his progress that he's been making that he is audibly smirking, not just visibly, but audibly smirking. But I just really liked I thought it was fun, and I thought that the quote, "Patience is bitter, but the fruit is sweet," would make for a good prompt, and so I shared it. We'll put that screenshot up on the Patreon so that y'all can see it. But yeah. So final thing, I'm gonna do this in the hopes that I get my life together this week. I have one project that I'm trying to complete, and it's gonna be the first video for my K-pop channel that I am planning on YouTube. It's gonna be just kind of whatever K-pop things I want to do. I'm going to make some Guess Who's so that you can challenge yourself on idols and groups that you know. Going to do some save one, drop ones, and also just kind of like, it's just kind of a place for me to share my thoughts about K-pop, about the idols, about my favorite songs, whatever strikes my fancy. So if you want to check that out, the title, the channel name is Rev Stay Mobbin', one word. REVSTAYMOBBIN. So, even if I don't have it up by the time this episode drops, I should have it up very shortly afterwards, and so you can be on the lookout for that. Again, I'm Rev. This has been a pleasure sharing my work, Hardly a Stabbing, with you. Keep that fire burning, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Hey y'all, it's Cricket here this time with an editor's note. Basically this week I realized I was annoyed with our numbering system. This is something you will almost certainly not notice. Just a slight note on some of our dual episodes where we have like 216A and 216B, that I went through and swapped some of the A-B designations on episodes we've already released. So you may notice that it doesn't line up with things that we've said in the podcast already to this point. Going forward, everything will be correct, and everything we say should be correct. But prior to this, I may have made some of our comments not line up, and I'm sorry about that. Again, this is almost certainly something you won't notice, and it will not change your experience. Going forward, everything's correct. We're not going to do this again. But I did make some changes on our end that may make some of our AB comments not line up. Thanks for your understanding.
This is Bones with a little further clarification. Cricket changed the ABs so that the prompt lines will follow the A's and B's. So how it was before, you didn't necessarily have all of the A's in the same prompt line and then all of the B's. But now we've changed it so that if you listen to, for example, like 215A, then you can just go to 216A, and that will be the prompt that was at the end of 215A, etc., etc. So A's and B's now follow the two different group prompt lines we have. The Cellblock Scorch is a production of Stellacore, an independent group of nerds sharing their obsessions with the world. We can be reached at thestellacore@gmail.com, through comments on your podcast platform of choice, our Instagram, Stella_core, and at our YouTube, also called Stellacore. Feel free to check out our other productions on our YouTube channel or our cosplays on Instagram. If you would like to support our creative endeavors, you can give a one-time tip to the Kofi of the writer of your favorite Scorches, or check out our Patreon, linked in the show notes. There, you can access the winning Scorches and episode transcripts for free, or sign up for Spark level support for $5 a month to gain access to all of the Scorch submissions.